Hello everyone, I'm Nick from nextstepnick.com and today we're going hands-on with the MediEvil demo. So it was announced last night via the PlayStation State of Play, and to be honest this game holds a really special place in my heart. I remember playing this demo, to be honest, the original demo when this game first was coming out, all the way back in I think 1998. And can we just take a second to really appreciate this? Really fantastic, what a great entrance. I think the great thing I love about MediEvil is the way it takes things that are stereotypically terrifying and horror filled and turns them into something sweet and camp. For example, can we just appreciate this? Fantastic, right? It's got this real epic feeling where it turns things, like I say, stereotypically scary things into things that are kind of sweet and innocent. I mean, even here with the zombies, you've got something that's kind of a stereotypical horror trope, usually pretty terrifying, pretty graphic, and instead it's turned into this really gentle, kind of innocent thing that can be enjoyed by everyone of all ages, really. It's a really, really good game, and I'm so glad it got a remaster. So we're going to get introduced to Sir Daniel Fortesque here, that's our main hero. And again, this kind of shows the advantage of picking a graphical style like this. I love Zarok as well, we're going to get more into him later on. But this scene here, in any other graphical style, that would be absolutely horrifying. You'd immediately be looking at like a high age rating, wouldn't be suitable for kids, definitely wouldn't be suitable for young children. But instead, because of that cartoony graphic style, this real sweetness, for example here, this little bit of personification with Dan, just pulling out the cobweb and then a little smile. Even though he's got no jaw, you know what he's doing. There's this real way in which things that would otherwise not be acceptable are turned into just gentle, innocent, fun things. I mean, like, for example here, we've just woken up in the crypt. We're going to meet the gargoyles, which are brilliant.
It has risen again.
Again, it's just that campness of the voice and just the personification there. If you have a look at the eyebrows, it's this very, very slight movement, the light coming from the mouth, but also that slight movement of the eyebrows. You get straight away that message, that sarcasm, that little bit of wit.
To turn the arrow fodder into the saviour of the day, but we knows better.
It's great. So straight away, you've got that whole thing of Dan establishing his character, that kind of proving himself as the hero after having been taken out straight away before the battle even begun. And that kind of travels through the whole game. You're playing this underdog, this character who is out to prove himself after basically a failure, against this really camp evil that's taken over the world, and it's lovely. You're going to see the game skip a little bit here. Reason being is if you go back into the crypt at this point, you can try on Sir Daniel Fortesque's helmet, but the problem is that it's actually like a pre-order bonus, so it closes the game and goes into this whole PlayStation Network screen, so we won't go too much into that, but instead all we're doing at the moment, having a bit of a look around, just collecting a few items in the crypt, getting used to how Dan plays and just sort of establishing the gameplay a little bit here. The thing you'll probably notice, to be honest, is something I forgot. You've got the wisp there highlighting different objects, and there's some really, really good voice acting here. It really oozes with personality. But the one thing I would say is that I'm not so used to anymore that kind of jerky camera. It's something that you forget about, to be honest, but in older games, especially these kind of platformers, this, Gex, Spyro, all those kind of games, the camera is very, very... it moves violently. If you turn a corner, you're kind of in control of the camera as well, and you have to really sharply turn, and it can sometimes overjudge that. It can go right round. It can leave you feeling a little bit, you know, for some people who are prone to it, a little bit motion sick, you know. But luckily it's not too bad. It's handled well here. I'm just trying out the weapons here, getting used to the different weapon effects and weapon abilities. One of the sweetest things there is, yeah, if you're unarmed you can pull off Dan's arm and use that as a weapon. So we just found our shield, we found our sword. We're literally just, I'm just getting the grips again with the daggers there, getting used to changing weapons. But it's lovely, really. It's just a lovely, innocent game.
During your travels through Galamir, you will collect many items to see.
Now this game as well holds a really special place in my heart, because like I said, I played this as a kid myself. I remember getting this game quite eagerly travelling through, fighting against these sort of forces of darkness, and myself, I was always interested in that kind of imagery. I like the idea of sort of skulls and zombies and those kind of things. I'm awful with horror films. I'm easily frightened, to be honest, which is a bit embarrassing to admit, but such is life. But I love that kind of evil that goes over the line into camp. I love that kind of thing. I really like things like, for example, you know, you Invader Zims and things like that, where they use unsettling imagery in like interesting and fun ways, where they use things that are stereotypically scary or gory or, you know, disgusting, but instead they're turned into sort of quaint. I really, really like that. Now, this screen here, I have a special sort of place in my heart for. So the menu screen here used to be like a map like this, and you can kind of see your area a little bit. But one of the reasons why I know this screen so well is because you used to travel backwards and forwards to collect these chalices, which you get for getting a certain number of kills. You'll see the number in the top right there. And I remember going backwards and forwards on these screens for a long time. Same sound effects as well, which really turns this into like a nostalgia trip. But I think it's one of those games where I'm a little bit coloured by nostalgia. Like I say, I have my own personal sort of memories with this game. But just in general, I think it's fantastic that it's a series that has managed to get that remaster, that has managed to kind of come into the public eye again. Because I think it's really got the chops to go the distance, really. It's the kind of game with a lot to do. There's a lot of different story aspects. You know, it's very innocent and sort of general. I'm saying innocent quite a lot, but that's kind of the best way to describe it. It's very straightforward story-wise. You know, you are the underdog hero set out to prove yourself. Your end game goal is to beat Zarok, the evil sorcerer, and that's kind of just what you're going to do. You're kind of proving yourself to heroes as well by collecting those chalices I was talking about. You can utilise them to, I think it's get new weapons or it's get new abilities, but you go to the Hall of Heroes and that's the way they sort of judge you as to whether or not you're a hero that's worth their salt kind of thing. But there's all this really sort of beautiful imagery just there as well, like with that sentence there, it's utilising those words like the word dead and the framing of the moon, and it's just lovely. It's just lovely. It's a really fun adventure. I'm just trying out the doors here because I remember there were a few secrets and things. But that's another thing about the game, is there are a lot of different little bits and pieces hidden in the levels for you to find. Trying out the special abilities there, and you'll notice as I'm taking down these zombies, that number in the top right is kind of rising, so you can see how much percentage I've got. All the souls flying off to fill up the chalice that we'll pick up later. This is the one criticism I would say at the moment. These are the life well kind of things. You go into them, and when you step into these fountains of rejuvenation, sorry I'm saying life wells, but fountains of rejuvenation, when you step in there, the game does get a little bit frame ratey. It does drop a little bit. I mean, I'm recording off of PS4 here with a Elgato, but it does drop a little bit there. But then fair enough, this is a demo, and there's plenty of time to address that, and it's only a very, very small issue compared to what you get, really. I mean, the rest of the game plays like a dream so far, which is great. It's a relatively short demo, though, so you won't see me fighting a boss or anything like that. It's basically just giving a bit of a view of what the world looks like, the way in which Dan can interact with the world, and how sort of faithful the game has been to the original, which is very, to be honest, which is very. It's also got one of my favourite bad guys in, like I say, Zarok. Basically really camp sorcerer. Really, really good. He always had this sort of, if you've watched Dragon Ball Z, he has this Frieza-esque quality. He had this voice, you see, this really camp, nasally voice, which I'm probably really good at right now with the flu, but it just added this kind of slimy tone. I mean, like there, as we transitioned from scenes earlier, one of the things the book said is that Zarok leaves a trail of magical slime, and it's really great imagery, this kind of slimy character who spoke in a very sort of Alan Rickman-esque way. It's just a really, really sweet little touch that helps to add a little bit of character to a villain. So we're going through here. I remember this actually, but you're going to see the chalice for the first time here. So just getting a bit of information about the chalice there. But yeah, it's lovely. I think they've done a brilliant job so far. It was made by a different company, and now it's being made by a different developer. But I think Other Ocean Emeryville, I believe, is the name of the developer. But excuse me if I've got that wrong. I'll write it out underneath as well. So underneath the video you can get a bit more information and have a bit of a look. But yeah, it looks good. You can pre-order it now on the PlayStation 4 store as well, like the PlayStation Store. And yeah, I'd say it's worth it. I'd say it's a good game. The one thing I would say is with platformers like this, because of the fact that they were sort of new and novel back in the day, and there's a lot less data on the discs back then, It can seem very short, is the only thing that I'm worried about. I worry that the levels may come across a bit short. So I love this imagery as well, with the coins in the mouth and the little plate underneath. It's I think that's the thing, is it drips with character. It has this graphical style and this beautiful musical score that go hand in hand to create this eerie but sweet game. And it's lovely. Like I say, I'm a little bit worried about the length of the game. There are little secrets and things like that are hidden that can bring you back to levels. So for example here, I'm just going up killing a few zombies, but I don't notice the path back down. So I sort of have a look around, not really sure, and then I head back down the way I came. But there is like a path down, and we do sort of come back here later to kind of highlight the whole secrets aspect. But I feel as if the levels are very A to B, which is nice because it means you can afford more planning, if you know what I mean. With a lot of these games that have sort of open world, there's far less scripted events. They're not as tight. They don't feel like they're as well thought out, they're as well planned as a game like this. Again, you'll see that frame rate drop a bit more here, but it's a small problem in the grand scheme of things, and I'm sure that's hopefully going to be ironed out over the next couple of tests. But yeah, it's something that just, because of those styles and that musical score, it just oozes charm. It's just wonderful. I had a smile on my face the whole time I was playing the demo. It's just one of those games that it can easily become something that would be in your top sort of list of games, because it's nothing overly difficult per se, it's nothing unbelievably hard, but instead it's just got this, it just grabs you, and it has this sort of, it stays in your, to be honest, it's a little bit like The Nightmare Before Christmas. The kind of thing that you'd watch and you end up sort of having a favourite creature. You fall in love with Jack Skellington, for example, and then you remember it fondly. You watch it every sort of once a year, you revisit it every now and then. Someone sort of mentions it in passing and you have those really sweet nostalgic sort of thoughts about it. And this is very similar to that. It's this very, you've got these sort of memories of the game, and I'm sure hopefully new players will make those memories themselves as well. But it's a game that you can revisit very easily. You can play through. It's not offensive in any way. It's not something that's going to sort of infuriate you. Instead, it's just going to kind of captivate you. It's going to keep you busy. It's going to keep you entertained, and you're going to fall more and more in love with Daniel Fortesque as the game goes on. So here's an example of what I was talking about how the levels have a bit more depth than they first look like. So here, we go back this way just to collect the chalice, but we've got this door here.
The living world lies beyond these skull gates. The master of the hilltop mausoleum, the stained glass demon, has possession
of the skull key. But it's one of those things where we'll go and beat the boss, for example, and come back. The boss isn't included in the demo, which is a shame, because I think the stained glass demon was graphically a really beautiful fight. But so there, you'll see I've collected the chalice, and just here there's a little bit of a secret behind the fence. So there are little bits and pieces you can go back through the levels and collect. There are reasons to do that. This is the first level, like I say, so it's very easy to collect the chalice, but I have memories of going back and forth to certain levels to try and get all of the enemies, because some are sort of hidden and disguised and things like that. So there is a challenge there, and there is room to sort of go back to the levels and explore a bit more. You do get different weapons as well. So for example, you see the little hands running around. Later on you can get like a mallet that kind of comically squishes them, and they drop coins as well, and there's other bits and pieces that you can go back and explore and have a go with. So there is a lot to explore, but at the same time it's one of those games where it's just great to pick up and play. Really, really fun, great demo. It's got me really enthusiastic about the game, and I'm looking forward to playing it. Anyway though, that's my little playthrough of the MediEvil demo. I hope you've enjoyed it. I apologise again for sounding a bit nasal with a flu. If you do like my content, please like, share and subscribe, and head over to www.nextstepnick.com for some more articles. Thank you very much for listening today, and goodbye!